All right, welcome everyone for another installment of our LaunchX alumni interview series. I have Isabella here today, and she's going to share a little bit with us about her experience with entrepreneurship more generally, some of her experience prior to joining LaunchX, as well as with her company started at LaunchX. And she was with us just this last summer in the 2020 version with going online this last year. So I know that's going to be a little bit exciting to be able to hear about. So welcome, Isabella. I guess first, do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we can get started into your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, thank you, Laurie. I'm Isabella. I'm a junior at Mission San Jose High School in Fremont, California. I have a dog. His name is Juggy. And I am also a wrestler in my high school, as well as a writer for the Smoke Signal student newspaper of my high school, as well as involved in many of these entrepreneurial efforts of my own. Yeah.
Cool. And how did you originally get started into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so my parents actually started their own startup right around when I was about 8 years old. It was a Bluetooth tracker for children, so like an alert when they get out of a safe radius range. And, I went with them to all of the factory visits, like the silicon factories. I listened in on all their board meetings with investors and everything like that. I was actually really interested in like helping out at the time. So I had like a sketchbook and I drew out sketches of like their product design. I gave their product a name that they didn't go with in the end. I called it Kimo. They ended up going with Liwa. I'm still kind of advocating for the name Kimo, but yeah, so I was really involved, and I think that's kind of what kickstarted my startup interest, because I really enjoyed just watching them they all started off with like big companies. They had their own passion, and then they kind of formed their own team and worked on it. So I think that was kind of what kickstarted my own involvement as well as inspiration.
Yeah, that's great that you got to like see the inner workings of it, and that it, was something that was enjoyable to see, for sure. Okay, and it was a kid tracker. Interesting. So was this inspired by anything that you did when you were younger that they needed to keep track of? Or no, I'm just kidding. Um, and so like, okay, so tell us about then your entrepreneurial experience. So that kickstarted some interest, and then you went off and started a little bit your own entrepreneurial journey after seeing some of the cool stuff that they had done. So then what did you end up doing?
Yeah. So we actually lived in Hong Kong for like around 7 years. So when I moved to America, right around middle school, I immediately got involved in my local nonprofit organization called Friends of Children with Special Needs, shortened FCSN. So that's kind of where I got my interest in helping the special needs community. So after interacting and volunteering with them, I realized like that's something I really want to help the community with. And then I reached out to so yeah, my family goes back to Chengdu every single year during the summer to visit my dad's mom. So as we were going over there for one of our annual trips, I reached out to the local hospital, Chengdu's Hospital for Women and Children, and I interned at their hospital therapy program for children with autism. So I think it was a really transformative experience for me, because I really discovered my passion for helping this community. And after that program, I kind of came back to America, and I was like, what can I do to help contribute my own skills, my own passion to serving this community? So I kind of started fundraisers. I decided to start working on an app. So kind of the idea was like virtual at-home therapy for children with autism. And as I kind of worked on it, it kind of morphed into something different. I was doing a research paper on career technical education for neurotypical high school students. It's actually published on the International Youth Researchers Conference called Career Technical Education to Enhance American Education. So I was writing that research paper, and then I was thinking like, wow, career technical education could be really useful for individuals with autism, because it emphasizes like hands-on experience and really employment. So yeah, so then I discovered and looked into it a bit more, and I discovered that employment rates for individuals with autism are around 85 to 90%. So I decided to kind of embark on my journey to address that problem statement, which is when I started my nonprofit organization, AUesome Inclusion. So AUesome Inclusion is the nonprofit dedicated to bringing career technical education to individuals with autism. And we've gotten some pretty cool progress, like some partnerships with local businesses, turtleworks.co, Friends Coffee and Tea from FCSN as well. We've also gotten some really cool advisors that are guiding us along the way, Dr. Jocelyn Upan and Dr. Linda Lotzbeck from Stanford. So we're really lucky to have them on board as well. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to what SN Inclusion can do. We're also expanding to kind of have youth volunteers contribute their own videos, their own content to SN Inclusion. So really trying to build that community as well.
Oh, that's great. And I mean, what have been some of the really cool, like, so you've had some partnerships and things like that. What have been some of the other kind of like cool milestones progress in terms of like volunteers and people supported and things like that?
Yeah. One of the things is we actually got on the front page of the Tri-City News recently. I actually have it right here. So yeah, we got featured on like the Tri-City News. That's one of the major things that has happened recently, as well as some other news features with local news features as well. For nonprofit, we're also filing for a 501c3, which we'll probably get soon. So I also want to be able to hand out service hours as to encourage youth volunteers to also contribute their own skills. That's one of the things that through FCSN, I also am starting like a chain of FCSN clubs in the local Bay Area. So I started the first one at my high school, MSJ FCSN Club, and recently we've actually had 7 more clubs been approved in the Bay Area. So I see like youth volunteers have so much passion to kind of help this community. And just seeing the amount of people that have stepped up and volunteered during shelter in place for this community has really inspired me. So I also want to be able to provide that opportunity for them to contribute to SN Inclusion.
Yeah, oh, that's great. And I mean, just on a personal note, as someone who has a younger sister who has autism, I know that it's something that yeah, unemployment rates are very high within that group, and it can be difficult for that group to be able to get the right support to be able to have work. So it's definitely a noble cause for sure. And so this was your company before LaunchX. I know we'll get to the one that you started at LaunchX, which is also very cool. But first, are there ways that LaunchX helped with the growth of this nonprofit?
Yeah, I would say the biggest growth is probably just my personal growth as an entrepreneur. Through LaunchX, I really gained that confidence for outreach. I would say lots of our partnerships came from the outreach experience I gained at LaunchX. So like LaunchX, like the interviews we had to do for market research for our company at LaunchX, everything like that. Even like the market research we did, we interviewed a lot of professionals in the field for autism research during my experience at LaunchX. So I think like just seeing how helpful these individuals are who are so like talented, they have so much experience, and they're still willing to help like a young entrepreneur looking to make an impact in the community. So I think LaunchX really pushed me to gain that confidence for outreach, as well as like everything else we did, like learning how to pivot an idea, learning the startup framework, kind of how you tie everything together. I think all of it really contributed to what SN Inclusion is today.
Oh, that's great. Which, yeah, actually your startup at LaunchX also supports children with autism. So that can be a great segue then for us to have you tell us a little bit about your startup at LaunchX.
Yeah, so AUesome, AUesome, is a social enterprise dedicated to giving children with autism therapy kits for at-home therapy. So the problem statement we're trying to address is that currently at-home therapy is not very widely available to everybody. One of the things is because parent implemented intervention, where parents are the one giving out the therapy for children with autism, is obviously a little bit difficult for many parents, especially for those with low income, because at-home therapy can be quite pricey as well. Some like insurance difficulties there as well. So AUesome is kind of dedicated to giving therapy kits as long as detailed instructional videos to guide parents through how to do these activities, to make at-home therapy accessible to everyone. And also like bridging like the digital and physical world of at-home therapy, because one of the other ways that are currently on the market is like games on a phone with like apps for children with autism. And one of the things we noticed with that is that you just can't replicate the physical aspect of learning with like touching, sensory fine motor skills, which is an issue for a lot of children with autism, simply can't be replicated on like a phone screen. So we also wanted to give the kits as like a physical aspect for the children to retain that aspect of at-home therapy.
Yeah, and I mean, what were some of the kind of cool things that you learned throughout that process? I mean, I know you had a little bit of knowledge about autism coming into it, and I mean, what was it that caused y'all to develop something like this kit? I'm curious.
Yeah, so I would say when I was in like the internship in Chengdu, one of the things I was noticing was that after this about 6-week long program, the families would go home and then have not like a good continuation of their learning. So that's kind of the inspiration behind our awesome kits, as well as all of my other teammates who are really wonderful as well. They also have personal passion for the helping the community of children with autism. So I think all of our passion combined kind of inspired us to embark on this journey. I would say also like just from the market research interviews as well, meeting all these experts and then hearing their advice. And we really kind of addressed our problem statement from what the advice that they gave us and what they noticed, since they definitely know more than we do on what the pain points are for families with autism. So yeah, that's kind of just how we started.
Yeah, and y'all made some pretty awesome progress with your startup during the 6 weeks of the program. So tell us about tell us about how far y'all made it just during the 6 weeks of LaunchX this summer.
Yeah, during the 6 weeks of LaunchX, we actually kind of gave out our first demo kits. So we sent out 8 kits to real users, kind of with everything like the instructional videos and everything completed for those first round of demo kits. So we got some really great initial feedback, as well as a parent ambassador from the kind of the initial kickoff that we had with LaunchX. So I would say LaunchX kind of really during the time of LaunchX, we had a lot of market research development, and actually the kits that we made that sent out to those initial users in LaunchX, we've had a lot of them coming back, and like we have a lot of like kind of initial kickstart from that first round of demo kits, as well as the GoFundMe. We raised like over $1,000 during LaunchX, so that's also been one of the cool things that we still are going off of the traction we gained during LaunchX.
That's awesome. And I know one thing that a lot of people had a question about with doing like an online virtual program was, well, gosh, how might we be able to do something that would be a like physical product or kit when we're not in the same location as our teammates, and especially then delivering that to a potential customer. So how, I mean, I know that's something that certainly we as staff had an answer to, but I'm curious, to have you share how your team handled that.
Yeah. So we like our materials are pretty simple, so we just got them from Amazon. We delegated one person to kind of build the kits in their own home. For this round, it was me, but we kind of rotate around who builds the kits every time, so everybody gets to get their hands dirty with that. And then I just kind of packaged up, and then we shipped the kits out to the users who expressed interest. So we had some people from FCSN, the nonprofit I work for. We had some from Maine as well, like a therapist we reached out to. Actually, from our mock boards, one of our mock boards mentors recommended us a contact, and that's kind of also where we sent kits to. So therapists from there, as well as in Reno. So we kind of hit 3 states during our 6-week course at LaunchX.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and yeah, that's a great way to do it, right? Just like getting some stuff from Amazon, like short lead time shipping, and then packaging, sending back out. That's great. Well, yeah. So, all right, and in the short time frame of the program, y'all did market research and like mock-ups, prototyping, ship things out, user testing, GoFundMe. That is a lot. And then you've continued to make some progress since with the team continuing. So tell us about what y'all have been doing since the program as well.
Yeah, so since the program, one of the really exciting aspects that we've recently beginning development with is our presence on news. So we've had actually multiple news channels cover us, just to name a few, like Good Day Sacramento, Reno Business Review, also I think like This Is Reno news channel, as well as some more local ones in California. So these like news channels, I think we got a lot of interest in our customer form. So we have actually a lot of customers right now I think more than 20 interested in getting a kit from us. So we're definitely working on getting those orders out, as well as we're looking into starting up a Kickstarter so that we have another place to kind of launch the beginning of our product. Another thing we're working on is our app. So we do want to kind of work on that mission statement to bridge the physical and digital world of at-home therapy. So we're kind of working on an app to like provide more guidance alongside the activities. For example, like what clothespins activities you can do. You can like scroll through the app and figure out different ideas, and the app will just prompt you when you're ready to give a new kit and things like that. So we have like a full mock-up of that app completed, and we're going to test it out with the new demo kit users as well.
Oh, that's awesome. And so those are the things that we'll be able to expect to see from the company in the near future then?
Yeah. Another thing is our mock board members, mock board mentors, as well as our lead instructor, Michelle. They've also been continuing to help us even past LaunchX as kind of like board members / advisors. So their guidance has been really, really helpful to kind of kickstart AUesome.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, and I know I've always loved to see when folks continue to support with teams as well. And let's see here. So are there ways that AUesome has kind of changed since y'all started with the idea of it?
Yeah, definitely. I think in the beginning it was like we were also going to do like a game app that had like games for children with autism to play with. But then we also kind of had the idea to give out like monthly subscription kits to children with autism. So then like from these two, we kind of decided to kind of combine the two ideas. And then after doing some market research, we realized that there's already quite a few apps out there with games for children with autism that we probably wouldn't be able to do necessarily better than without researchers and a big team supporting us. So we really wanted to kind of use our skills to the best of our ability, as well as find that big pain point in the customers' needs. So that's kind of, we pivoted a little bit into the realm more of like the kits, as long as with like an app that just helps you use the kit.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Always love to hear a little bit how people arrive at their ultimate offering. And I mean, I guess on a little bit more of like personal note of things, what motivates you as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think personally, I've seen like the biggest growth that I personally have had through my entrepreneurial journey. One of the things is just like having the confidence to be able to talk to people, like giving presentations, going like one of the things I did with my parents' kind of company was I handed out flyers for them at like their events and things like that. So I went around to random people and were like, do you want to buy a tracker? So I think just from that kind of early interaction and kind of being forced to go out there and talk to people, I think is one of the biggest things I've personally developed in, because I'm naturally kind of more of a shy person, as well as just kind of having more being able to take those risks. I think being an entrepreneur is kind of the most gratifying way to see that achievement and put your own personal passions and ideas into a real company, real product.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people assume that entrepreneurs are inherently good at those things, and don't realize that it's something that, yeah, entrepreneurs do have to push themselves, and that it's this kind of continual, like little by little, pushing ourselves outside of our comfort zone to be able to do those things, and that yeah, it is something that I think anyone is capable of doing. It just requires that continual, just a little bit of discomfort, pushing ourselves outside of our comfort zone. Yeah. Cool. And as far as your entrepreneurial journey, like where do you see it taking you going forward?
Yeah. As an inclusion, the nonprofit is definitely something that I see going past beyond like a couple of years. So I'm definitely interested in kind of extending that into later stages of my life, just the entrepreneurial companies and startups I have currently going on. As well as I'm just really interested in pursuing like business technology kind of side of things in college and beyond. My parents both work at Google, so I probably take quite a bit of inspiration from the both of them as well. So I definitely am interested in continuing like more of an entrepreneurial, startup-driven career in the future, as well as also considering like the entrepreneurial startups I have now. I'm really interested in continuing my contributions to the special needs community in some way in like the foreseeable future.
No, that's great. And I mean, I guess, I mean, we've heard a lot about the cool startups that you've done, and it's very inspirational. I mean, I guess as we kind of close up here, if you were to have any advice for any of the other kind of like aspiring young entrepreneurs out there, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just like, if you have an idea, if you have something, like just run with it. I think for me as an inclusion, it started off as just like a project I was working on, and then it kind of expanded from there. So I was like very unprepared for the beginning of it. Like when I first started, I didn't have a fully solidified idea. I didn't have a fully solidified team. It was a very like just rudimentary passion for continuing down this project in some way. So I think like if there's something that you're interested in doing, just start and then see where it can take you. I guess another piece of advice is to kind of really take in the people around you and then the advice you can get. I think the people that I have reached out to that I've been really shocked by is just how helpful everybody is, just from a simple email, cold emailing a bunch of really, really renowned professors who have more experience than I could ever imagine. They're so nice. So like, I think one of the biggest advice and biggest things I learned is just to not be afraid to reach out to those people.
Yeah, great pieces of advice, both on just getting started as well as doing that bit of outreach. I think, yeah, the more we can push ourselves out of that bit of comfort zone and realize that we don't need to have all the answers, the better. And I think that especially as on the educator side, that's what I think I'm trying to do with entrepreneurship education, is help people realize that they don't need to have all the right answers to venture out there. Well, that was really awesome. I'm so excited to hear about your progress, both with your nonprofit as well as continued progress with AUesome, and especially the fact that you were able to do such great things with it this last summer with the virtual program and continuing on with it, getting some really great recognition with it. Excited to see that you'll probably be doing a Kickstarter soon. Definitely let us know when you do that so that we can post about it. And thanks everyone that was joining the webinar here, and we'll also post it to YouTube soon. So thank you all, everyone.